We are Guild Non-Prophets. I'm Denis Loubet, the Mage, along with Jamie Boone, the Fighter, and Kevin Stein, the Thief. We're questing live from the Free Thought Library in Austin, Texas on the 17th of October, 2018, to recover the fabled Head of Vecna. This adventure is sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a non-profit educational organization for the promotion of positive atheism, the separation of church and state, and the accrual of vast amounts of gold pieces and experience. If you want to learn more, you can summon their voicemail at 512-220-6561 or visit the inn at www.atheist-community.org. The Non-Prophets armors up and sets out every first and third Wednesday of each month from 7:30 to 9 Central Time. You can join our merry band by following the directions at www.nonprofitsradio.com and joining the chat room. So roll up your stats, polish your 10-foot pole, and don't forget to listen at the door.
All right, that all went over my head.
Yeah.
The gamers will get
it. It always starts in a tavern, and actually,
that's right.
For a while, the ACA had a well-attended happy hour.
Uh-huh.
We should get back to doing that.
Yeah.
Someone should tell the president of this organization to get his lazy butt in gear.
Yeah, we did the fireside gathering things.
Yeah, we did those. Those were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, what have you been up to, Dennis, for the last few weeks?
Oh, well, I've been watching far too many YouTube videos.
There's an amount of YouTube?
There are an amount of YouTube videos, and I've been watching a lot of Bionic Dance. A YouTuber who does a lot of the heavy lifting for the atheist community. She seems to handle the arguments we hear all the time, and she's willing to dig in and answer them again and again and again and again. So I have a lot of respect.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's cool. Reminds me of another show that's Call-In. It's been on for 20 years. Has Matt and Tracy and Jen and whatever.
Yeah.
The Atheist Experience.
That's it. That's it. I've heard of that one.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
It has a few videos out there, doesn't it?
Yeah. It
might
more than
take
1,000 episodes.
Jeez.
Take a while.
Yeah. Although...
Start binging, everyone.
Yeah. Mark at one point told me that there's a set of episodes that we still don't have, and that the way the old numbering went, they would just number it by the weeks originally. So we might technically be, well, at this point we've got 1,000, but it might have been a week or two later than when we celebrated.
Oh.
You know, spoiler alert, everything you know is a lie. So, yeah, Kevin, any interesting news? Confronted by a street preacher, perhaps?
No. I was real worked up last week, and damn it, I wanted to do a show last Wednesday. Oh, man.
Something in particular, or just...
Kavanaugh... especially, but just a lot of stuff.
I can't keep
I was jealous of secular sexuality.
Yeah.
So, They're every week. If you guys have not checked them out, they're every week.
Yeah.
Secular sexuality.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Hint, I think, is what he's saying.
Wink. Yeah.
Well, in any case, I think we can sort of jump into... news. Kevin, you want to take the first story?
Yeah, I suppose so.
So it's not a positive one. Let me guess.
No.
Something religion, something humans are getting hurt. How'd I do?
Close. It's actually less of a story. I talked a little bit about Ralph Drollinger last episode, and a lot of people were not familiar with him. I wanted to look a little bit more into him. There's a lot that we could go over, but I'm going to try and consolidate a little bit.
For those that want to Google stuff while they're listening, how do you spell Ralph Gittinger?
Drollinger. It is Drollinger.
All right.
Just like it sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us about Ralph Drollinger.
Okay, so as I said last episode, he is the pastor that is heading up the weekly Bible studies for the Trump White House.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
and
That already makes my stomach turn.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he has arguably quite a lot of influence, and
Yeah.
as you pointed out right off the bat, Dennis, he has not been, appointed by
No.
a vote. No one voted.
No
for this
one
guy.
voted for this
Yeah.
dork.
Yeah. Well-
As far as I could tell, he got the job just because he formed something called Capital Ministries in 1997. And it was founded with the idea, if you change the hearts of lawmakers, then their Christian worldview will guide them to make good policies.
That the rest of us have to follow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, do you guys remember when we all decided it would be good to live in a theocratic state?
No,
I
I
don't
don't
recall
remember.
that.
Yeah, that didn't happen. We should not do
Yeah.
that.
He has some rebuttals to that I'll get to later, but
Oh, boy.
Really?
Yeah.
He has some rebuttals to theocracy as demonstrated as a failure again and again?
not that in specific, no.
Oh, okay.
No, he doesn't have a
Yeah.
rational argument.
No.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, he started this Bible study in 40 state capitals and a number of foreign capitals. He teaches weekly studies in the U.S. House and Senate, and now leads about a dozen members of President Trump's cabinet in weekly studies in scriptures.
And so somehow he wormed his way into the White House.
Yeah, I think he just got
Yeah.
the Trump cabinet appointment just because
Yeah.
he's been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's been doing these Bible studies for the House and Senate.
Yep.
Or it's
He's a
it's
parasite.
just now that it's getting a little bit more press because holy shit, now it's the friggin'
Yeah.
cabinet of the White House. So among them are Rick Perry, Betsy DeVos, Sonny Perdue, Mike Pompeo.
The usual,
usual
the usual suspects
Yeah.
in a
And
yeah.
That's right. About Capital Ministries, Drollinger about the Trump appointees that he
Yeah.
preaches to. He said, quote, "These are godly individuals that God has risen to a position of prominence in our culture."
So, I mean,
Wow.
actually, it was Donald Trump, and them
Yeah, it
referring
was
to Donald Trump
Trump
as
and
God is
Pence,
actually
yeah.
scarier.
Why did we have the Revolutionary War if God put the king on the throne of England?
Oh, that's a different.
I mean-
they're wrong about Jesus. Don't ask theological questions. They've stopped caring about those. They just want
Apparently.
political ones.
He compared Trump to Samson
What?
at one point, yeah. I left that out, but you just
Yeah. Actually, I've heard that recently. Was there, there were Christian arguments between Christians about whether or not it's biblical to support Trump or whether or not Trump could be blah, 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 blah. And it was like, actually, in the Bible, the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar was used for, therefore, Trump is biblical. I'm like, fuck off.
There's the whole
Yeah.
movie saying
Yeah,
that God put Trump there.
God propped up a lot of assholes, therefore...
Therefore, this particular asshole,
Yeah.
God propped up.
I
Who else
that
could have
a number of
this
times.
particular
Did you say there was a
asshole gotten there?
movie talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
What movie?
Oh,
I mean, if you don't want to advertise it, that's fine.
I'll look for it.
Not that a lot of our
Not a-
listeners are going to pay for
Not
to
a
go see
major
it.
motion picture, but no, it's
Surprisingly, I watch a lot of Christian movies.
Yeah, I was going to say. I listen
Right?
to a lot of reviews of.
Yeah, no, I watch
movies.
them too. And actually, about last episode, I referred to a quote that I couldn't quite remember. It is a quote from Drollinger himself talking about how amazing it is, how much influence he has over these cabinet members. And I actually found it. And this was about Trump. It was about Jeff Sessions in particular. Quote, "He'll go out on the same day I teach him something, and I'll see him do it on camera. And I just think, wow, these guys are faithful, available, and teachable. And they're at Bible study every week they're in town.
Fucking God. Jesus. Shit.
It's sort of like, oh, if only.
Again, no one voted for this guy.
Yeah,
Right.
well, okay, so on that point, I will say, no, presidents consult all kinds of advisors that are not elected. So the fact that there's an advisor, point of disagreement on that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But
dang it. That's the thing that's supposed to spice up the show is, we strongly disagree and yeah.
Damn it, Jamie, you're not supposed to make good points, and then I can disagree with you better.
Well, actually, no.
Government
Jesus
is also not supposed to establish religion.
That is true. However, I would say it's not a First Amendment violation, but it's stupid. It doesn't just whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not.
He apparently holds a
Where's
lot
the
of
little
sway.
dog in the burning building saying it's fine?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, he apparently holds a scary amount of sway with at least key members of the cabinet.
He's not paid by if he was paid by the government to do this, I would have a problem.
No.
Because it's public funds.
Capital Ministries is a 501c3.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, great in the sarcastic, begrudging kind of way. It is interesting, right? Because it's one of the things that Christians are like, oh, they want us to only pray in our homes and totally chase it out of public. And no, they're wrong. It's just that we don't want you to spend our money, or more specifically, taxpayer funds on a private enterprise, which is what religion is. However, there's this, nightmarish scenario oftentimes that I hear expressed, which is, oh, they would never allow a person of faith to serve or something. And to be clear, I don't actually have necessarily, I think that person is wrong, but I don't know.
How many presidents do we have? We have
all
45.
All of them.
There's some consecutively have all
been Christian. Well, there's some things you can say about Lincoln as far as his actual beliefs.
They've had various different takes, but geez,
well, and it also depends on whether you count the deists who were, nominally Episcopalian, like the ones. It's actually sort of interesting. Virginia and Episcopalians, those are the largest two sort of demographics for presidents.
Let's just say they can take any suspicion of persecution and shove it straight up their asses because, God, we're not allowed to be Christian in public with our churches on every street corner.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say,
we're under attack.
We're under attack.
We're under attack.
Bullshit.
Fuck off. Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
I've got more.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I did mention that he does have some rebuttals to accusations of him being a Christian dominionist or Christian nationalist and wanting to set up a theocracy.
Yep.
Actually, I watched a couple of segments of an interview that he did on the Christian Broadcast Network.
Yeah.
Yeah. Softest of softball interviews, by the way. That was just,
of course.
So bad. So in question about, whether or not he is a Christian nationalist and wanting to set up a theocracy, he said synonyms for Christian nationalism are Christian dominionists, Christian reconstructionists, and Christian theonomists. Jesus and the apostles never talk about constructing Christian nations. They're about building the kingdom of God.
Nice non-answer. Great.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Wait, repeat the question that he was asked that he just decidedly didn't answer?
No, it was a kind of just general question about accusations of him being a Christian nationalist. And wanting, supporting theocracy.
Yeah.
So not only are we building a wall, we're building a freaking what?
Well, okay,
Kingdom of heaven?
Yeah, that doesn't answer what he believes the kingdom of God is.
No,
right? Like,
and if you watch the full interview, he's very good at kind of skating around.
Of course,
yeah. I would never.
He plays.
His assholes are nothing if not slippery.
Yeah, he plays semantics very well, and
Great.
I mean,
so
again,
we're building
never get
a
any
kingdom of
pushback.
heaven, and what? He's going to make the angels pay for it? God.
that was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
Nice.
But again, it's a
Gotta think
non-answer.
on my
And actually,
feet.
it leads to a good point. This is precisely the same kind of non-answer that people always give and that you should always listen for, even from people that you support or like, or even when it's not about God, is that doesn't respond to, are you a Christian nationalist? For him to say,
what do they mean?
Jesus isn't about.
What does the phrase kingdom of heaven mean in terms of mortals building it?
But I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
but again, he didn't say he was. He was talking about what Jesus and the disciples were about in the Bible.
Okay.
Building a kingdom.
So that could be followed
Totally
up by
did
that
not
was
answer
then,
it.
and now we've established a kingdom on a hill that's a
answered
beacon to blah blah
nothing.
blah. Right? It's a non-answer.
So, Jamie, you sound a little concerned. I think we all are. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Oh God.
Don't
What
worry.
What else has he got?
Good. Put us in relief here.
Don't worry. Our fears are completely unfounded.
Good.
What?
Why?
What fears are completely unfounded? Of Christian dominionism? No.
They're completely unfounded. Let's hear what he has to say.
No, this is the.
All right. Oh, it's the beginning of a statement.
Yeah,
I thought
this
that
is
was the
the-
entirety.
No.
of it.
No,
And I was
no.
just like, that doesn't alleviate any fear
He's
at
got
all.
a punchline to this
Okay.
somewhere.
I was building to it. Anyways, he said in regard to people's fears about him being a Christian nationalist and wanting to set up a theocracy, he thinks that really it's just people making a bunch of noise. He says, I think that if you can get the voting populace to fear that the White House cabinet members are having Bible study and that they're plotting a Christian overthrow of the country, creates fear in the voting populace. But I can go on record saying we are not doing that whatsoever. We're just trying to build men and women in Christ-like character, and then they carry that character into their vocation.
So he began by saying,
Yeah.
if you make the voting population afraid of a Bible study, they will be afraid of it.
Yeah.
We're not trying to overthrow the government. We're just trying to train these people to be Christians so that they can carry it into their vocation, which is government.
Exactly.
Right.
This guy, if you watch the full interview,
Does he know what? Does he know what we're afraid of? Does he understand?
No.
He contradicts himself constantly, and I can't tell
No,
because he does
supposed
seem,
contradictions.
yeah, he does seem like a pretty intelligent guy.
Oh, we're taking him out of context. See.
I can't tell if he knows he's contradicting himself, he doesn't care, or if he's just, he's a Christian, so maybe he's just used to it. He doesn't think it's a big deal.
Well, I mean, that's not exclusive to Christians, and it's not exclusive to religion. It's just humans are bad at thinking.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a little bit upset because some of my one of my stories is particularly heartbreaking. So I've been in a mood of anger.
Yeah. Well, I've got one more thing.
One more thing.
Capital Ministries.
Oh, that's that guy's thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Very.
Same story.
That is the ministry.
Where have you
Ralph Dollinger.
Rollinger, yeah.
Same story.
So he actually prints out the sermons or lesson plans or whatever that he gives cabinet members and all that. And I actually found one from July 10th, 2007.
Oh boy.
Specifically titled Understanding the Separation of Church and State. So he's going to alleviate our fears once again.
Is he?
No.
Spoiler. Okay.
So it starts with when Jesus said, "Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God," in Matthew 22:21. He was proclaiming a huge distinction, something quite different of the coming church age relative to the past with Old Testament Israel. I'm going to stop before I get to the next
You do
part.
explain that.
Yeah. Give me some.
He claims that quote, that Bible quote, is about the separation of church and state.
So, well, okay. I can see that, but what does he believe that it means? Because what he said was it was specific. Is he saying that it's specific to them?
Yeah.
I hate that.
He was proclaiming a huge new distinction, something quite different for the coming church age relative to the past with Old Testament Israel.
Does that rule continue into the current age? Do we know?
All I know is that he claims...
Ralph Dollinger, if you're
claims,
watching, please, for the love of your God, send an email and explain what the fuck that means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
You know, let's
yeah. What else does he
just
say?
wrap this up.
Yeah.
Old Testament Israel. This passage, among other New Testament passages, represents the biblical basis of institutional separation of civil government from the God's ordained institution of church. But I must be careful to add here right up front, least you misunderstand what I'm saying, that institutional separation does not imply influential separation, as is postured by many secularists today. So don't worry, he doesn't want the dictionary definition of a theocracy. He just wants the kind of theocracy where everyone in power is a fundamentalist Christian and they use their fundamentalist Christian beliefs to
Guide
Vote
government.
the correct way. Okay.
to form all of their choices. That's the kind of theocracy that he wants,
Right.
not the dictionary definition.
Okay. That actually is more acceptable to me than a lot of things. I mean, to be quite honest, among people that believe that blah, 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 Jesus should influence government, blah, 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 if you hold that conclusion, then Ralph's view is the one that I think you should have. Because the institution has to be separate.
If we
his claim that secularists are like, you can't think about, whatever decision-making process you use when you're in government. One, I've never stated that, and I don't know anyone that does. Two, if you're going to use your Jesus to decide policy, I'm going to vote that way. But,
I mean, I think the will of the people kind of overrides your
yeah, and I mean,
fundamentalist Christian philosophy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, well,
You'd like to think so.
What he's saying, like, if he, one, I don't know specifically what he means, but on the topic in general, if what you mean is no state money to churches, and you don't have paid chaplains or whatever, but you're, as a pastor, encouraging elected officials to consider the Bible, blah, blah, blah. That's the appropriate place for religion to be discussed and then ultimately to be shown to be a bad influence and to be ignored.
Yeah.
So partial agreement? I don't know.
Yep.
I mean,
Just not going to happen with the people.
Well, no.
currently there.
It's not
we
going to happen
are
with them. but-
operating under the assumption that he is being honest.
Yes, that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
We're operating under the assumption that he's being honest and that I understand what he means.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Hey, I've got a thing on that movie I was talking about.
what do you got on that movie you were talking about?
The Chosen One, the new film that claims Trump's election was an act of God. This
The
is
Chosen
from-
One?
The Chosen One. This is from The Guardian.
Oh, wow.
More than 1,000 U.S. cinemas are screening The Trump Prophecy, which posits that God chose the philandering billionaire to restore America's moral values.
God,
you
have to love British wit.
It's not The Onion. It's real.
Yeah.
It was, everyone agreed, a miracle. The unexpected election of Donald Trump, I wouldn't call it a miracle, in 2016 was an act of God who chose the philandering billionaire and reality TV star to restore America's moral values. This is the theme of The Trump Prophecy, a movie telling the story of Mark Taylor, a former fireman from Orlando, forced to retire after suffering from PTSD, which premiered on Tuesday. Between graphic nightmares featuring demonic monsters and hellish flames, Taylor received a message from God in April 2011 while he was surfing television channels.
Holy shit, is this the firefighter prophet?
It could be. As he clicked to an interview with Trump, Taylor heard God say, "You are hearing the voice of the next president." And so it came to pass. Although it took another 5 years and a national prayer campaign, Taylor duly wrote a book, The Trump Prophecies, the astonishing true story of the man who saw tomorrow and what he says is coming next, on which the movie is based.
Oh my God. Oh my Lord. What is the name of the book? Just in case I...
The Trump Prophecies. Let's see. Yeah. Anyway, it sounds like just crazy from start to finish.
Yeah.
Oh, I so want to watch this.
Can I buy it for cheap?
I imagine you could find it.
Okay.
The Trump Prophecy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna track that down.
You could stomach it. Go for it.
Yeah. All right. So, in my next story, we have a choice between rape and sexual exploitation.
Wow.
It's terrible.
Sophie's choice.
All right. So here's a story that was recently covered. Brace yourselves. And so I remember hearing a while back that there was a documentary, I think, on Netflix about basically a school for the, like a boarding school for the deaf that was run by the Catholic Church. And so there were children there who would have trouble communicating with the general public, you know, in the charge of Catholic priests. You can sort of put two and two together and understand what happened next.
Sure.
This particular story is, I mean, it's on the back of, you know, a child pornography ring in Pennsylvania. There's also a bunch of other states that are now looking into that. New Jersey is one of them, and the New Jersey Attorney General, who has prosecuted a bunch of those cases, has said, brace yourselves, it's going to be worse. I'll wait at one. I don't know that I'm going to compare them. I'm sure that I will be horrified by anything that's found. But the state of New York subpoenaed all of the dioceses in New York last month. Let's see. The Catholic Church oversaw a school for special needs children. Children who are deaf or deaf and mute, that were, quote, systematically groomed for sex by the priests using hand signals.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, if this is the kind of story that you're sensitive to, it gets terrible. I'll try not to get too into the horrifying and graphic details, but this is from the Daily Beast, who spoke with Giuseppe, who was surrendered to the Catholic Church as a child when his parents decided they were unable to care for or communicate with him. And he shared his account of what it was like to attend the church. Church is Antonio Provolo Institute for Deaf and Mute Children. And for those of you that want to follow up and subject yourself to the more gruesome details of this, I'll post a link in the official nonprofits discussion group. But When he was 11, a monk who worked at the Institute as an indicator started teaching, quote, special secret signs for things like masturbation, fellatio, penis, and anus. He says that initially he didn't understand why. I mean,
didn't understand why
he was being taught these strange secret signs.
Jeez, of course.
Yeah, and then quote, then one day it became very clear when one of the priests made the secret sign for fellatio when we were alone, which was followed by him pushing his erect penis into my mouth, end quote. From that point on, Giuseppe said through his interpreter, often using fast and somewhat violent sign language as tears ran down his face, priests and the brothers would give a sign to the young boys and then take them to special rooms, Giuseppe said, were used for time-out punishments as well as resting areas.
Right.
He says that because everyone was deaf at the school except those who worked there, no one could hear the screams and cries of...
Oh.
Yeah. It's...
Yeah.
It's why they're called sexual predators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know how to cover their asses, especially when it's institutionalized.
Yeah. Well, it's like finding victims, like targeting vulnerable people. I think you have a line on this, Dennis, which is, why are there still Catholics?
Why are there still Catholics? Catholics, you're complicit in this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Demand change. You were the member of an organization that facilitated this. Look into it at least.
Stop being Catholic.
Right.
Yeah. Call into AXP or Talk Heathen and
tell me why the fuck you're whatever.
You're okay with this.
Yeah. Justify it. Justify being a Catholic.
Yeah, I mean, so part of it is, hang on, I'll skip through some of this. I don't know. I thought I had more of a stomach for this today, but
only do what you feel like you want to do.
I went on pretty long.
Don't push.
No. It's the yeah. Let me see. Let me.
We're gonna need
when
a
you
palate
create,
cleanser
and I have a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
When you create something as horrific as a systematic method for grooming children for sex, you're going to take steps to protect it. I mean, quote, of course we screamed and cried, Giuseppe said. Sometimes you would see priests coming into the dormitory at night, or you would see friends with tears rolling down their faces, and you knew exactly what had just happened. You didn't need to hear to know, end quote. I worked for, this is the reporter, worked for the Indiana Department of Child Services for over half a decade and can anecdotally tell you that special needs children are by far more likely to be abused than those without special needs. They're less likely to know that something is wrong, which means they're less likely to report that something is wrong, if they're able to communicate that something is wrong in the first place.
Right.
Research also supports the author's opinion here, according to the article. And because, of course, he is, Pope Francis is involved, which is part of the reason that the story stood out to me, because, yes, Catholic Church, systematic rape, etc. So there's another victim, Julieta, and I can't pronounce the name at the moment, but was one of the victims at the Provolo Institute. She said she was first abused by Father Riccaro Jimenez, who worked at the Institute for... the abuse went on for 3 years before her parents found out and filed a complaint. The abuser was then transferred by the Archdiocese of Buenos Aires under the direction of then Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio, whom you probably better know as Pope Francis. So, up until, I read this story, I would say, yeah, no, he's the best pope so far because it's such a low bar. But I can't even bring myself to compare these things anymore because it's just sort of...
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty low bar to try and slither under.
Yeah. Jesus. In 2013... Agnieszko and 13 other victims, so 14 victims, sent a letter to then Pope Francis, which he proceeded to ignore. The letter was never answered by Francis, and Agnieszko did receive proof of receipt. So he got the letter, he just ignored it.
Right.
She is lobbying a court in Argentina to open a civil suit against the Pope for overlooking complaints when he was the head of the Archdiocese. The Watchdog website, Bishop Accountability, outlines 5 cases that Pope Francis overlooked as cardinal. One concerns Father Julio Cesar Grassi. The Catholic Church has been able to run the most efficient and long-running child sex abuse ring in the history of the world. Congratulations, you're the best at something. No other organization in the history of history has outperformed their efficiency. While the support for Francis himself is waning, for various reasons, in part the people that want to keep to more sort of orthodox traditions don't like how non-traditional he is.
Religiosity is dying anyway.
Well, religiosity is dying, but it's like amongst Catholics, support for Francis is kind of waning because he's changing things up or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we're out of the honeymoon phase.
We're out of the honeymoon phase. He's not as good as the 2 popes ago, apparently. Yeah. And I'm sorry, until I don't think that it's necessarily continuing knowledge of rape. It's just sort of pointing out that, oh, he said something nice about homosexuals isn't the same as making any fucking difference in what the organization does.
Right.
Yeah.
The Catholic Church continues to enjoy support from 1.2 billion people. Stories like this,
1.2 billion pedophile enablers.
Yeah. And then the author goes on to say that he wishes that hell was real.
Yeah, well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For that reason.
All right.
I'm not sure that any further editorializing is necessary.
No.
Same shit, different day.
Yeah. Hey, did you guys know that rape was bad? And that child rape is bad?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Evidently not everyone does.
No, they don't know that. They don't get to talk to us about morality anymore.
I know. Yep. No, I'm just...
ever.
There's also... One of my other stories is the Episcopal Church confronting its pastoral and sexual exploitation. Hey, guess what? It's not just Catholics. They've got some competition, but they blow them out of the water.
Do we have to?
I mean, it's the news. Just because it's bad doesn't mean we...
Piece of listener mail?
Listener mail! Let's do some listener mail.
Yeah.
Thank you, listeners, for sending us mail.
Yeah, let's do that real quick.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Damn it. Fucking church. Can you just stop raping people, please?
This is from Bernard.
All right. Bernard!
As I was scrolling through my preferred newspaper website, Frankfurter Allgemein, I came upon an article with the headline, Catholic College, Priest Loses Job Over Statements About Homosexuality. As a normal thinking person, that's what I tend to think of myself usually, the first thing that came to my mind was, great, they're getting rid of a homophobic priest. Seems like these Catholics are making progress. But far from it. The priest, a professor of the New Testament, Asnar, asking me to pronounce German here.
Oh, how's it spelled?
Verpfennig made positive statements about homosexuals and advocated for approval in the church. He suggested the damnation of homosexuality in the Bible is ambiguous and should be restated.
Ambiguous.
The Congregation of Catholic Education, however, says he can't hold his position anymore due to his statements and denied him the Nihil Obstat certificate of conformity.
It's the Wunderschmert.
Moreover, the Vatican demands a public revocation. I hope
Say you're sorry
Verpfennig
and you
will
agree.
speak out against his employer, but let's see. I'm a big fan of your show, hosts and co-hosts and everyone involved in the ACA. Keep on educating and enlightening people all over the world. I wish it just wasn't so depressing to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, who was the mail from again?
Bernard.
Bernard. Thank you, Bernard.
What's the name of the? Thank you. Really though.
The name of the guy?
Yeah. What's the name of the priest?
It was his name, A-N-S-G-A-R.
Yeah, there you go.
I was trying
Angar.
to get you to pronounce it again.
W-U-C-H-E-R-P-F-E-N-N-I-G.
Pronounce the P like an F.
Right. Verpfennig.
That was better.
You know, that's actually
Verpfennig?
I don't
Anyway.
sprechen, as it were, but that's probably closer.
I'm terrible.
Yeah. In my mind, you just sort of.
Yeah, I think I took German.
Frankenfurter.
That's not
Yeah.
insulting to however many million German speakers out there. But
Yeah.
Not at all.
I took German in 9th grade, and I did.
can you say squirrel?
No, I did terrible. I can count to 10, but that's about it.
Yeah, why not? Do it. We need a palate cleanser after the. There's too much Catholic raping and.
Yeah.
He lost his
All right.
position for saying maybe we should be nice to homosexuals. Yeah. And then there's this guy that ignored 5 cases of rape and then became the Pope.
Yeah.
All right. We'll do the next story at 10, okay?
All right.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yay.
I'm sure those.
Wunderbar!
We're going to get some comments about my pronunciation, but yeah.
Bring it on.
What you got, Jamie?
I was trying to. There was some nickname in World War II, Jerry's,
Yes.
for. That might be really insulting. So I'm sorry for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It probably is.
It is.
Yeah, so I'm
was
really
not
glad that I
not a
definitely
happy name.
did not say it as a thing. Doesn't count. All right, so India. This is reporting by the AP from New Delhi. There is a temple in southern India that is one of the largest Hindu pilgrimage centers in the world. Is set to open its doors to females of menstruating age after a ruling by the country's top court.
Okay.
So,
Yay.
huzzah! Apparently, discrimination against women based on the fact that they are of menstruating age,
Yeah, I don't know why they.
which
added
is
that.
ages 10 to 50. Is that so? Some 1,000 police officers cleared protesters from the vicinity of. All right, we're gonna get way more notes on my pronunciations in this story than yours. Of German.
Boy.
All right.
Go for it.
Take a deep breath.
Sabarimala Temple in Kerala State on Wednesday, which is on October 17th. So
And that was all wrong.
probably. I mean, I don't know. It's languages where there's a transliteration where I feel like just literally pronouncing the letters is probably safer. But like actually, like languages with the same alphabet, it may actually be harder too. Although the phonemes are all different. In any case, back to the actual news. So some 1,000 police officers cleared protesters hours before the temple's doors were set to open to females ages 10 to 50, which is, I think, a broad, sweeping.
That's a huge swath. Yes.
You know, I'm not an expert on anatomy at all, much less female anatomy. They were making sure there were none of this menstruating thing. It's so
okay. I want to say
how do people
congrats, but like why specify the menstruation? And
it's ancient religion.
I think girls are like icky. That opens the gate to they're not going to let them in if they are menstruating at the time. How are they going to check? I mean, I want to applaud them, but this is just...
I'm not checking.
Anyway,
it's weird.
But they've opened it to women who...
So
maybe I'm reading too much into this.
Yeah. So 11 protesters were arrested for trying to block the path of some female visitors. On Tuesday, hundreds of demonstrators stopped buses carrying devotees to two of the temple's base camps and asked female visitors to show documents to prove their age. Television videos show the protesters turning violent and attacking the cars and vans of some female reporters and TV crew members some distance from the temple.
What?
Yeah, no.
What
it's
the
just
fuck, guys.
Well, they're reporting on the protest. Yeah, no. All the Eastern religions are super peaceful. Actually, they're still religion. So they impose random rules entirely detached from reality that if you break, they're more important than you or humans. It's like I said the other day. I said it on Talk Heathen. It's like we have human traditions that it's still celebrate. Oh, you get a birthday candle. Oh, the cake has a number of candles equal to your age. Oh, or sometimes when your age is really big, they do the numbers instead of the direct things.
Right.
Yeah. If that was explicitly part of a religion, there would have been a schism over whether or not you could have just, 20, a 2 candle and a 5 candle, or whether you had to have 25 candles, and whether or not they had to be burning and all blown out by the person. Like, the point at which you make those things very serious and real, and there's consequences for breaking them.
It would have gotten real goofy.
And
then
believe
fuck
me,
off.
There would be penalties for not blowing out all the candles in a single breath.
I feel like
there would be judgment.
There would be it would be like a sign of how blessed you were by the god
or how
wind
cursed you
were. Or how cursed you were. That
if you failed.
It took him 3 breaths. This is a year of bad fortune for him. We got
to be careful because we could be actually creating a religion right now.
I was going to say,
like that.
Can we just do this to sort of as an imitation?
Eric could put it in his book.
Yes, he could, except he wants to fill it with things that are actually good. And he's given me excuses for why he doesn't write very much in there, which is like, well, I'm open-minded and skeptic.
What does his noodliness have to say about this? Yeah, that's what we need to know.
I don't know. We have the contact with him. We could ask. Yeah. But in any case, it reminds me of things like when people go to a live showing of The Room or like a midnight showing of Rocky Horror. Mm-hmm. And there's all of these traditions, right? But no one gets stoned or violently protested against for not bringing toast and newspaper to Rocky Horror or a bunch of plastic spoons to The Room.
Or you're not dressing up for the Ren Fair.
Yeah.
Which I've never done.
Yeah. But also, even amongst nerd traditions, no one gets discriminated against for being of menstruating age, hopefully.
Yeah, that's such a bit of menstruating age seems like such an unnecessary discriminatory.
Well, it's because of menstruation,
it's like,
right?
I know.
There's a bunch of ancient religion
crazy
hang-ups,
religious crap.
unholy and unclean.
Oversharing.
Yeah,
You know,
it's gut feelings that are then applied to a god, and therefore there's a bunch of rules and rituals about get your vagina away from me.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised when you talked about the violence, but
Yeah,
it's
religion.
to think of it, I really shouldn't be, because
Yeah.
also there's a pretty big uptick in like men's rights activists and incel culture blossoming in India right now.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, I mean, India also has a rape problem, where that's just sort of rampant and
I've
accepted in
heard something
society.
like
Yeah.
that. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to be clear, just look at the response of Star Wars fans to Episode 1, right? Like, there are people that care about things that are not important. I know that I will,
Oh, yeah. We'll get mail now.
I'm just really glad that there isn't a Pope of Star Wars to excommunicate me. Although, actually, wait a minute. Jedi is a religion.
That's right.
So, let's get through the rest of the story without
Blasphemy.
Is there any more?
Yeah, no. There's some more details. So, there's the New Delhi television channel reported that some 20 protesters surrounded a bus in which a reporter of the News Minute channel was traveling and tried to pull her out. The reporter was kicked by angry protesters who also hurled abuses at her. New Delhi TV reported. Since a state court ruling in 1991, the centuries-old temple has barred women and girls ages 10 to 50 from entering. India's Supreme Court lifted the ban last month, holding that equality is supreme, irrespective of age and gender. So really,
Good for them.
despite the local violent, lawless response, this is a ruling by the Supreme Court of India that no, equality trumps religion.
Now,
So in that regard,
does this mean, according to that ruling, that everyone is allowed in that temple?
I think
Are there still excluded people?
irrespective of age and gender.
Irrespective of age and gender.
I'll be
Okay.
honest. I haven't read the Supreme Court ruling.
I wonder if it overcomes the caste system that's there.
I don't know.
I'm betting
Actually, I don't know how
won't.
enshrined the caste system is in law or how
I suppose
prevalent it is now.
probably depends on how rural the area is.
Well,
I mean,
which of
Anyway,
the 10,000 stories that were reported today are you talking about specifically?
It's definitely a stroke of progress there.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, bravo. Credit where credit is due.
they have a good Supreme Court.
Yeah. Well,
Any bit of progress is good news.
yeah. Well, I mean, to be clear, so there's arguments that the celibate nature of the temple's presiding deity, Lord, there's no way. Why did I read on? I could have gone on. Lord, there's 2 Y's in a row. All right. Ayyappa is protected by India's constitution.
Good guess.
Some figures consider menstruating women to be impure.
Right. Yeah.
Meghna Pant, who's
all about
I'm so
impurity.
sorry if I've mispronounced your name. A female activist said the celibacy of the deity was no more important than the equality of women. What a fucking novel concept. Supporters of the ban are angered by the state government's decision not to seek a review of the Supreme Court's ruling. There's an attorney for the temple appealed to female devotees not to enter the temple and give authorities until next week to file a review petition in the Supreme Court. I'm going to go ahead and state, based on the fact that there were protests, that didn't happen, but effectively, attorney went, well, okay, we're going to appeal this so that we can still ban you from the temple. Please just act like you're still banned for a little while. Let's see. Up to 50 million devotees visit the temple every year. Several temples across India have banned women, saying the policy is intended to preserve the purity of their shrines, fuck that, is my editorializing.
All right.
The operators of a temple in the northwestern state, I could have stopped. The northwestern state of Rajasthan.
Okay.
Believe the Hindu god Kartikeya curses women who enter the temple instead of blessing them because they believe their gods are sexist as well. India's secular courts have intervened recently in cases in which a religion's gender beliefs were seen as discriminatory, as opposed to when their gender beliefs are seen as non-discriminatory.
To be fair, gods are made in man's image.
Yes,
So,
and
it makes sense
made that point.
yeah.
Made in man's image.
Yeah, it makes sense that their gods would be sexist assholes.
Yeah, doesn't it though? Doesn't it? In any case, do you have another piece of listener mail?
No.
Or
Do you have a story?
Do you have a question?
Oh,
You had a question.
a question. I had a question. Yeah, I have a question. All right. What was the God's supposedly original plan regarding humans?
You mean like Garden of Eden?
Well,
level,
they're sitting in the Garden of Eden. If his plan had worked, and the humans hadn't eaten the fruit and fallen and all that stuff,
eating the fruit of the tree, which you shall not eat.
and we are assured that there was no death, then there would be no one in heaven, right? I mean,
Yeah. Well, in the Old Testament,
God
there's no reference.
wouldn't want anyone in
Yeah, you'd have to make heaven later.
Well, he was walking around in the garden with them, is sort of the thing.
Now, I've heard some people say that Eden was actually heaven.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
What?
Yeah.
No, that's bullshit.
I think it's bullshit, but
It's in Jackson County, Missouri. That's what the prophets have said. So clearly,
yeah, but then why this
Mormons.
why allow? Then this Jesus character comes along, and the floodgates are open. Anyone can go into the big amusement park in the sky. It's like, what the hell?
wait. So that last point, I'm not sure I get. Like,
Well,
was
it's before Jesus.
You don't wanna
I was
go to the
wondering,
club if it's not
before
exclusive,
well,
Dennis?
no. Well, it's like before Jesus. Was there any way to get into heaven? Since there was a fall and all that
I mean,
stuff?
presumably no. Either he fucked up, in which case he's not infallible.
Well, then why would he give us these rules to live by if there was no reward for following them?
Yeah, either he fucked up, in which case he's not infallible, or he didn't fuck up, in which case we're not responsible. Or rather,
weird.
Adam and Eve were not responsible because he was
weird.
part of his plan.
Yeah.
I mean,
And did he tell Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply
no, that's
before he kicked them out?
I don't think
shit.
I don't think that's something that he said to Adam and Eve. I have the text.
Yeah, we're gonna have to fact check.
All
this on
right,
the
here we
spot.
go.
Because
Breaking out the Bible.
If he told them to be fruitful and multiply, I think I read
actually,
a long
how
time ago
large was the Garden of Eden?
some article that discussed how many people there would be
Well, I don't know.
in the
if we-
Garden of Eden today.
I don't know if we need to nitpick what order things were set in, because it also says in Genesis that we had plants before we had the sun. So
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's two.
But if there's no death, then there's absolutely no mitigating factor towards population growth.
This is
I think some guy had it
no.
that the surface of the earth would be covered with human beings up to some horrendous depth.
well, actually, I don't know that the Garden of Eden covered the entire surface. Well, it's here Genesis 1, verse 28. Didn't expect that
Yeah.
on the non-prophets,
Yeah.
did ya? Actually, we should get an English translation of a bunch of holy books and have a segment on it. But God blessed them, and God said to them, quote, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. Rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every creature that crawls on the earth." Yeah.
And
so
if,
he
as
did
the
that.
creationists assure us, there
That-
was
yeah,
no
that-
death,
I think that passage is where you get
We'd
Christian dominionists who are like climate change deniers and say, the earth is ours to do with as we please.
Yeah, but Christian dominionists, my understanding is that title refers specifically to wanting the government to be a Jesus institution.
Did I get those mixed up?
What? I don't know. So, I mean, certainly there's the like, oh, we're supposed to have dominion over the earth, and the that being one, that, and then the end of the Noah story that's stolen from the god Asher from a different tribe.
Yeah, dominion over the earth. That would suggest leaving Eden and going out and...
Yeah, actually.
That's kind of weird.
That's fucking weird.
What are the
unless Earth is Eden, unless the whole Earth was Eden.
Boundaries,
yeah. Well, it's like, so, I mean, he created heavens.
Unanswered questions.
He created
here.
the heavens in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the heavens the same as heaven?
I think yes. I think that we can come to that conclusion.
I don't know.
So he created the heavens before sin.
Heaven is a supernatural realm, but the heavens are a thing you can see. I don't know.
It's all up to interpretation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why we have over 100 different denominations.
This is an interesting book. So until, this is actually Eric's copy. Until Eric got a copy, I hadn't read the Apologetics Study Bible. And so I'm sort of enjoying the little things in the sideline. Yeah, there's these little boxes that are like twisted scripture. Ooh,
that one's nicer than mine. Yeah.
So my question created a bunch of secondary questions.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's sort of
all right.
Yeah, we should. I'm gonna take this argument and ponderings on it to the discussion group. I think.
Yeah, all right.
Well, okay, but we should come up with a proposed answer for your question, which was what was his original plan?
Yeah.
I don't know. You started off by just logically pointing out that this doesn't make any fucking sense, but I challenge you to actually engage with this BS.
I think that he always intended that, presupposing that any of this is true. Let's just pretend he always intended for us to be a bunch of fuck-ups that he screws with. How's that?
That sounds reasonable. If he's supposed to be omniscient, he knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So actually, then let me posit this. In a model where the God of the Old Testament is just sort of fucking with us, how accurate would the description of it be? Because presumably, particularly if he's all-powerful, then he wouldn't let us... So, for example, if there's a secret where you say his name backwards twice and he's defeated, that he wouldn't write that in this book. Is this book like a subversion of his plan to dominate? Or we should do this. We should do this every episode, and then we should alternate it with discussions that are the equivalent of this about Lord of the Rings, because it's basically the same.
And many years ago, I read an article on some guy did the math on you take
the kill count?
2 people, and you be fruitful and multiply with no death for however many thousand years, and how many people there would then be if everyone
was fruitful and multiplied.
Numbers all kept doing this thing. So it was like,
well, how many?
And it was like burying the surface of the earth, miles deep in just human flesh.
Yeah. So actually, my question is, in his model,
I'd love to find that article.
In his model, right? So the Old Testament has people living hundreds of years.
Yeah.
In his model,
they never
just
die.
Continue to have children?
Yeah, they
constantly?
continue to have children. Why not? Yeah.
This is so
it's worse than geometric progression.
Yeah, I know.
I remember
trillions and quadrillions of people. It'd be awful.
I remember I saw a clip of Eric Hovind confronting Bill Nye when he was on stage, asking about how can evolution be true if we only have such and such amount of people, and Eric Hovind didn't take into account
that people die.
But also that basic multiplication.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like 10 times 10
Well, of course.
Is 100.
Yeah, and then 10 times 100 and then I mean basically, yeah.
So wait,
He
sorry.
just-
How was he trying to argue against the existence of evolution?
He was saying that there's not enough people on Earth, I think. Yeah, it was a while ago.
Right.
What?
He's thinking
I would-
yeah, he would think.
Does he know how long people died in childbirth and like Queen whichever
No, apparently.
had
Okay,
like 12 children, 2 of which lived past their first day?
Exponential growth. That was
Yeah.
he didn't take into account exponential growth.
Good grief.
And yeah, Bill Nye was way too nice to him.
Yeah. Can he take into account that in the last 50 years the population of the Earth has more than doubled? Like, whatever. It's fine. It's not fine, but I'm moving on.
Right.
I think.
All right.
I don't
Enough
know.
on my question.
Okay.
I mean, was that on your question though?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Well, we've got another downer story.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. But then after that, we'll get some shit. So it'll all be good.
Yeah.
All right. And back to the raping. If you have to laugh to keep from crying,
Do we have
sorry
to?
for that. I mean, you don't have to. It's my defense mechanism. So the Episcopal Church confronts past role in sexual exploitation. This is reporting out of New York. With striking displays of candor, the Episcopal Church is acknowledging the potency of the #MeToo movement by officially lamenting its past role in sexual exploitation and pledging steps to combat it. For what that's worth. We'll see. The Protestant denomination's national convention this summer included an emotional session at which first-person accounts of abuse by clergy and other church personnel were read aloud by bishops of the same gender as the victims. 6 men, 6 women. Dioceses nationwide are now seeking to gather and share similar stories from victims in their local church communities. That process of story sharing has been particularly dramatic in the Diocese of New York, where Bishop Andrew thought I was free of it. I don't know. Diet. I can't pronounce German either.
Where is it?
It's right. It's here. It's that one. Diet.
Ah, shit. No.
I don't know. I
even
switched to
try.
learning Spanish
Yeah,
from,
sure.
so German is 2 languages ago.
Anyway.
Released a blunt pastoral letter on September 11th that described the most famous of his predecessors, the late Paul Moore Jr., as a serial predator who engaged in long-time patterns of sexual exploitation and abuse. Moore, as a charismatic bishop of the diocese from 1972 to 1989, became one of the nation's foremost liberal Christian activists. He supported the ordination of women and gays while assailing racism, corporate avarice, and various U.S. military policies. It has been known for a decade that Moore, who died in 2003, was bisexual and had a long extramarital affair that began when a young man came to him for counseling. Moore's daughter, Honor Moore, great, okay, I'm just going to let that name go.
Yeah.
Revealed that in a 2008 memoir. Shortly after the memoir's publication, then Bishop Mark Sisk issued a pastoral letter describing Moore as, quote, an exploiter of the vulnerable, end quote, who had been the subject of multiple complaints. But the scope of Moore's abusive sexual misconduct has become known only this year, notably at Catskill Mountains retreat in the spring attended by clergy from the New York Diocese. At one session, participants were invited to share stories about difficulties they faced in their ministries. Among those at the event was Reverend Allison Quinn, rector of Christ the King Episcopal Church in Stone Ridge, New York. As recounted by Quinn in a May 6th sermon, one female priest arose to denounce Moore as a serial exploiter who had affairs with many young priests and laypeople. Quinn said a male priest in his 60s came next, saying, I was one of Paul Moore's boys. He seduced me when I was a new priest. It nearly ruined my life, end quote. Quinn recalled, many of us were in tears at the end of the morning, at the suffering we heard, at the terrible mix of good and evil in human beings, at the brokenness in the church. Honor Moore, in an interview, said she was dismayed that her father was the only person named in ACA'S letter and objected to the label, quote, sexual predator, end quote. It doesn't seem like a fair term, she said. He was a sexually active gay man who lived in an era of unfortunate boundaries. So there's a little bit of pushback there. Neither the retreat session nor the letter had been previously reported. As detailed in the letter, the New York Diocese is now seeking to gather first-person stories from abuse victims throughout the community, with plans for a November 9th service that would resemble the National Convention session, which took place here in Austin, Texas in July, which my parents attended, actually. A Me Too task force formed by the diocese has set up a Google Docs program through which victims can anonymously submit accounts of their experiences. There's also a helpline through which callers can receive confidential pastoral care, and another phone number for victims who want to make an official report of sexual misconduct. The diocese is reaching out to abusers as well as victims, inviting them to anonymously acknowledge misconduct and repent for it. On that point, I don't really know what you do if you're in a position of power and a person has repented for it, if they're still going to serve as a shepherd of the people or what have you. Not everyone wants their story told, publicly told. Some want it responded to privately. At the national level, the Episcopal response to the Me Too movement took shape last January when the church's top leader, presiding Bishop Michael Curry, and one of his colleagues issued an open letter calling for an examination of how the church had, quote, handled or mishandled cases of sexual harassment, exploitation, and abuse through the years, end quote. Ahead of the National Convention in Austin, a Me Too planning team organized the, quote, liturgy of listening, end quote, that featured the first-person accounts of victims. Among those sharing the stories were a church employee subjected to rude comments from a male rector, a woman raped by a priest, from whom she was receiving spiritual guidance. That's an interesting choice of words. And a choir boy subjected to emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. Hundreds of people attended the 90-minute service. The Episcopal News Service said some were in tears when it ended. Others exchanged hugs with those near them. Before the convention adjourned, bishops adopt a covenant that commits them to seeking a more forceful response to sexual exploitation and harassment. In addition to holding, quote, listening events, and sorry, what?
You would think.
You would think, yeah. I mean, it's sort of like, what is the difference here? I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but is it just that, one church is just less institutionally poisoned by this? I mean...
Yeah, they got caught.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah. Like, I mean, one, it still happened. But two, this is the kind of institutional response that you would want, right? Like...
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, why isn't this changing? Why didn't Pope Francis do anything about this? And it's...
Yeah, the weird thing is, like, if you're a victim of this, why would you seek pastoral care?
Oh, that's, yeah.
Well, I feel like the last part was she was receiving spiritual guidance.
Yeah.
And she was raped by that priest. So I don't think she went back to that priest to receive guidance.
One of the things you were saying earlier was that people can receive pastoral care.
Yeah. I don't know why you would
they
say...
They have a phone and call.
Yeah, I mean...
And I'm just going, why would you?
Go
to a real therapist. Good grief.
Really? I mean, it's interesting because the feeling of the Episcopal Church, as it's been communicated, one, there was a split over a lot of ordination of women apparently was easier than ordination of people that are gay, people that are gay and practicing, in quotes, and that. But there's a character of sort of, well, we didn't speak up when the question on the moral, public square was slavery. And so there's this sort of urge to make up for it that kind of drives, leadership in the Episcopal Church. I'm not a member anymore. There's an Episcopal Church with my baptism records. But I don't know. I'd like to see somewhere I would like my only problem with a church to be that I think they're wrong, rather than, holy shit, you're still protecting rapists.
Yeah, actually, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It seems like they, cautiously optimistic.
Well, I don't know. You want an amusing palate cleanser?
Yeah, I mean, unless you have any thoughts. I was sort of like, am I the only one cautiously optimistic about the...
Cautiously optimistic. I can't be. I got to wait until what New York says. Yeah. Their investigation uproots. It's... I would hope, but it's not looking good.
Dennis, a comment you made actually segues really nicely into a quick story that I've got. I'll make it quick. And then we can do the palate cleanse.
All right.
Okay, so this is Wisconsin. Wisconsin Attorney General establishes chaplain program with 6 men.
Okay.
Wait, a chaplain program for what?
For law enforcement officers. Earlier this year, Wisconsin Attorney General, I'm just going to, Brad Schmiel.
Is there a price tag on this?
Gave a speech in which he explained that suicide was a greater threat to police officers in the state than getting killed in the line of duty. But instead of doing everything he can to prevent suicide, he's hiring 6 Christian chaplains to deal with the mental health of cops.
Have you heard of psychologists? That's always my fucking...
It kind of seems like he hasn't. All 6 are white men. I'm assuming that the entire police force is not just white men and is not just Christian.
Yeah, I was going to sort of say the white men part.
That's an assumption.
The academic credentials of one of them amounts to little more than a degree in, quote, biblical studies. Also, future chaplains will receive taxpayer-funded training. The FFRF reached out to Attorney General saying religion can and will not fix this problem. Officers deserve bona fide, real-world aid from qualified professionals, not ministers whose expertise or interest is really theology. It is inappropriate and unconstitutional for the government to insert religious ministers into situations where grieving, seriously injured, or mentally ill officers and community members need help.
Yeah. Just again, if at the end of the day a police officer goes home and prays over their dinner and prays before they go to sleep and prays when they wake, that's your prerogative.
No problem. Go for it.
I think that does more benefit in your head than in the real world. But you're spending taxpayer dollars on this shit. And
as you said, get real help.
Yeah.
Why would you want
more of what doesn't work?
To be quite honest, I mean, so I can envision. I don't know why I'm feeling accommodationist today. I can envision a scenario where
want to argue.
Yeah, I kind of do actually. Oh my God. Here, we won't take too long on this because then we've got one last segment before we close out. But that's going to be rage. So, there's
go out with a bang.
I can envision a scenario where they hire a staff psychologist. People can go, and that costs money. And it's a service that you're providing. And for you to say, look, particularly the job of being a police officer, and when you're in that uniform and you pull someone over, right? The most dangerous part of interacting with the public that a police officer does are traffic stops. That's when they get shot, because the person that's getting pulled over doesn't know whether they're being pulled over as a routine stop because they were speeding, or because part of their income is identity theft and they need to not be arrested or for, you know, whatever reason, right? And so then that's psychologically traumatizing. You deal with a gun. There was a story about a police officer who ended up having, you know, an almost standoff with two young children because they were holding realistic-looking airsoft rifles.
Right.
So whatever. The need for psychological care is very much there, and I'm happy for the state to pay for that. And I'm almost... No, actually, I'm wavering. Because if you give them a voucher for sure, you can take this and go spend it on the care that you think you need somewhere else.
Yeah, on really more of a kind of micro scale of just this.
Yeah.
But also, additionally,
in particular,
go into any church and talk to a pastor. That's the point, is you can just walk in.
You can do it.
And do that. I could do that. I would just not tell them that I was an atheist.
I'm pretty sure
It's
the
free.
female officers who have... You know, they want to talk about sexual abuse or misconduct probably aren't going to be too comfortable talking to one of these 6 white dudes.
Yeah, but you can't tell your police officers to go to church either.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean...
I'm sure any atheist officers or any officers who are not
I was about
Christian.
to say, there's a difference between you can't do that and it's unconstitutional.
Yes,
now.
it's unconstitutional.
There is a difference now,
right.
but
who knows?
The bigger problem is anyone who's not comfortable talking to these 6, you know, Christian white dudes, they are not going to be getting the mental help that, you know, they normally would be getting under a, you know, a secular therapist who
for some reason in my head,
actually is, you know, actually knows what the fuck they're doing.
Trained.
Yeah, it's
and
trained
that
professional.
affects the community. If a police officer's mental health is not
cared for,
that affects how they read, how they interact with the community, and it all goes downhill from there.
Yeah, what you want are Christians talking to them with their black and white morality. Yeah, because that'll diffuse situations.
Yeah, that's
Is
going to
there a
make
price tag? Do we know how much it costs?
I don't know.
Can we just stop doing this? Just provide people with care for mental health concerns.
Dennis, you were going to do a thing, and
I was.
You were going to do a thing.
Here I'm going to do it.
Oh, you said there was fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ha-ha. Okay, excellent. So
The headline pretty much says it all.
Okay.
By one measure, witches outnumber Presbyterians in the United States.
what?
There's a good chance self-described witches in the U.S. currently outnumber Presbyterians. According to Quartz, which recently published a piece about the explosive growth in Wicca that's based on the fact that the Pew Research Center said in 2014 that Wiccans represented 0.4% of the population, that's roughly 1.5 million people, and the religion is growing in numbers. Meanwhile, the Presbyterian Church in the USA pegged membership at 1,415,053 by the end of 2017. So,
wow.
Oh my God.
So we may be getting more witches.
Wait,
Cool.
what does it take to convert to Wicca?
I don't know.
Wiccans, please call in to one of our live shows.
Yeah, actually.
Yes.
Or just write in to the Non-Prophets. We've got emails as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. There, of course,
Kevin, are you
there's
trying to avoid talking to people on Facebook?
No,
Our
no.
official discussion group that you're definitely in.
Yeah, I'm definitely in it.
It makes sense that witchcraft and the occult would rise as society becomes increasingly postmodern. The rejection of Christianity has left a void that people are inherently spiritual beings will seek to fill.
Except for the part where it's inherently spiritual, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. No, I know people I know people personally that are like, yeah, no, I don't know what I believe spiritual. The church is bullshit, but I don't know.
There's just got to be something else out there,
Something out there.
man.
I'm going to cast a spell that involves dead flies and a jar of honey.
Yeah.
Sort of like, have you considered not doing that?
But at least they're not making laws.
Yeah.
Could you? Yeah.
that everyone has to.
Do you know that
live by.
science is reliable?
Yeah. No, polytheism is more fun anyways, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always preferred making up my own BS.
You know, do what thou wilt, harm none.
Well, thanks for that. That was
Can't argue
great.
with that.
Yeah.
That is kind of interesting, though, that there's more self-described. Wait, is it self-described Presbyterians? Because
I don't know.
In my experience, there's lots of people that just are like, well, we were going to go to the Baptist church, but the Presbyterian church had better cookies or something. And I'm like, how the fuck?
The key thing is...
Do you know there's a difference between those two?
The key thing is by one measure.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I don't think it's supposed to be a deep analysis.
You said it was
situation.
Pew Research,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or it's Pew Research reporting on the number
of
Wiccans. And then Presbyterian self-reporting church numbers.
Self-reporting church numbers are lower.
Well, self-reporting church numbers are rarely lower than the actual number. Actually, in many cases, they over-report.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
So there'd be more witches than Presbyterians.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
I don't know what to make of that.
Let's give the witches a chance.
Can we? They're close in number because one was 1.4 and one was 1.5.
Yeah.
So if they're roughly the same number, can we put prayer against spells?
I don't know.
I think they're both technically magic, so...
Well, yeah, but one is Jesus-y magic.
Yeah. Well,
One,
I mean,
one is the magic of an ancient Jewish person. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if their method of swaying society is sticking pins in little dolls or doing whatever magic spells they have,
that's different.
Nothing will happen, and it's all good.
Well, yeah. No, again, I'm yes, pray as much as you'd like for lots of things, but no. I thought does Wicca incorporate elements of voodoo?
I don't think
I am
so.
speaking out of complete and utter ignorance.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we had that exchange because now we're not going to get a bunch of emails.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The Wiccans
my
were gonna
admission of complete and utter
crucify.
ignorance will save us from any emails complaining about complaining about my characterization.
I mean, you're not. Yeah. Well. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, but at that point, it's like, yeah, we know, when we've acknowledged it.
Yeah.
So it's the.
But hey.
Well, I think that y'all should brace yourselves.
Uh-oh.
Because we are about to do our best to enjoy some shit internet apologists say.
Awesome.
And this week it's about rape. Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry. These guys are gonna revolt. All right,
We're gonna do that.
Go for it.
It's so ridiculous and rage-inducing.
Yes.
But it's also weird because it's Kavanaugh related. He's whatever. But the focus is on how a Christian pastor comes to his defense, right? Which is,
of course,
the headline being Christian pastor defends Kavanaugh, quote, the Bible says no scream, no rape, end quote.
Right. Yeah, I found this article too. Yeah.
Go
for it.
Christian pastor and former member of the Indiana House of Representatives, because of course he fucking is, Don Boys, has a message for everyone attacking. It was when the article came out. He was Supreme Court nominee, now Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Boys says that according to the Bible, quote, no scream, no rape, end quote. In his own words, Boys explains, rape is having sex with a woman while she screams for help. No scream, no rape, according to Deuteronomy 22, verses 23 and 24. Ford says Kavanaugh held his hand over her mouth. So did she scream for help?
He kept her from screaming, goddammit.
Wow.
It's sort of...
What the fuck, man?
It's the oh no, he should get off on a technicality of ancient Hebrew law. Except, I mean, there's. I'll read the passage in a second. He's wrong about what it says.
This dickhole
don't worry. The Bible isn't.
Either.
Yeah, don't worry. The Bible isn't as bad as this guy.
Yeah.
So did she scream for help when his hand was elsewhere? After all, it was in the bedroom of a house. Surely one of the other 14s could have heard him scream when she bit his hand. Did she bite his hand? Poke him in the eye? Women know instinctively how to protect their honor. Screaming, shouting, slapping, spitting, slugging, and stabbing with a finger, pencil, or hat pin. Oh my God, I missed that the first time I read this. He said hat pin. What a... Okay. Since she did not cry out or stab him, I will not believe her without a film of the event.
That's wrong on so many levels. I can't even begin.
Fuck this guy. Fuck that book.
So
fuck him to death.
So fuck this book. But also, let me explain why even his stupid argument is wrong.
Do tell.
Yeah. So it'll help that he's wrong even on his own terms. I think it helped me. This is Deuteronomy 22 verses 23 through 24. If a man is discovered having sexual relations with another man's wife, both the man who had sex with the woman and the woman must die. You must purge the evil from Israel. If there is a young woman who is a virgin engaged to a man, and another man encounters her in the city and sleeps with her, take the two of them out to the gate of that city and stone them to death. The young woman because she did not cry out in the city, and the man because he has violated his neighbor's fiancée. You must purge the evil from you. Okay, so actually I fucked that up a little bit because I read verse 22 as well. So it's just the part about if there's a young woman who's a virgin and engaged. And the man gets punished because she's property and he fucked her.
He fucked somebody else's property.
Yeah.
And so that's why he gets punished.
Yeah,
but also, if she wasn't someone else's property, I mean, what's the punishment for that? In
biblical terms, he's arguing incorrectly. This applies to a young woman who is a virgin who's engaged.
Right.
Yeah. Additionally, the Bible...
I guess that's why he got off scot-free then, right?
Yeah. I mean...
Right. Yeah, all these damaging accusations. Wish I had some damaging accusations like that and get to become the, Supreme Court... get on the Supreme Court. Wow. Amazing how it ruined his career.
Oh, yeah. It's sort of like, it's ruining his career. Before he was on the Supreme Court, he was appointed to the appellate court for life.
Yeah.
So whatever. Before you talk...
but this
bullshit.
This...
Mostly, it's counts as shit internet apologists say because his argument is so shit as well. Like, one, every part of it is heinous and reprehensible, but also, that's not even what the thing says.
Right.
There's lots of parts in the Bible that excuse rape. You've picked the wrong part of the Bible to defend your rapist.
Well, most Christians don't know the Bible.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this guy's a pastor, though. He's supposed to at least know how to do research, right?
Yeah.
This is a reference thing. Whatever.
But no.
Damn it.
I want to get back to
the next
saying what an absolute subhuman piece of crap this guy is.
This guy. Yeah, sorry, I was about to read something else in the Bible that was dumb. He also cites the New Testament.
There are monsters that walk among us.
He continued by saying, moreover, Matthew 18:16 clearly commands that there must be at least 2 witnesses to validate a charge against a person. This is a repeat of Old Testament law. Ford has no witnesses. She is a witness, would be my counter to that. The other man who was allegedly there, Mark Judge said, quote, "It's absolutely nuts. I never saw Brad act that way," end quote. I don't know that Mark Judge ever said that. My understanding was that he remained silent and didn't give something. This week, another teen that was supposed to be there, Patrick J. Smith, said the incident did not happen. That should settle it. Now let's all go home, put down the shades, and get some sleep. That's a weird way for him to defend
God.
I was going to get through this because I read it and was prepared for all the crap, but somehow...
The Bible says it's okay, so stop talking about it.
Yeah, the Bible says a lot of things are okay.
Guys, stop talking about it. It's a non-issue because the Bible says that, you know, there had to be two people. Otherwise, it's not a rape. Or she had to scream even though he wouldn't fucking let her.
Yeah.
God.
But wait, there's more. Yeah, basically this portion of the show could also be named Jamie tortures his co-hosts with crap.
That's really bad too, but I don't think we're going to get to it.
Boys continues. Lessons to be learned are many. Brett Kavanaugh should not have been drinking, let alone been drunk if he was there. Why? The Bible doesn't ban that, you fuck. And why was a 15-year-old girl at such a party? Why did she go to a bedroom with two drunk or sober boys? Was she drinking? Had she been sexually promiscuous? It's her fault. She's a girl. The last two sentences are my addition, but you know, you could almost not tell. And finally, his final thing that I'm going to read from this fuck. I've had some experience with being deceived. My daughter and I were alone one afternoon when I heard something break. I yelled, "Tammy, what happened?" What had happened was my small daughter broke an expensive vase I had purchased in Athens, Greece. She pretended she did not know what happened. "It just fell off the table," she said. I can still see her standing in the door of my office with guilt all over her face. Like most people, she wanted to blame others instead of taking the responsibility. I have told that story all over the world, but it didn't happen that way. It wasn't Tammy, it was Susan. Susan is adamant that it was her, not her younger sister, who was the culprit. However, I can see clearly Tammy in my doorway. I could pass a polygraph test, but it would still not make Tammy guilty or Susan innocent. I have been wrong about that vase for 35 years until I was proved wrong. Doesn't matter what a test might show, whatever the test results, it ain't so. Same with Judge Kavanaugh. I think the most disturbing part of that is he thinks those are comparable or even fucking related.
Yeah. Well, I didn't understand.
Holy shit, guys!
He had a daughter.
He has a daughter named Tammy that he believed broke his vase because when she was young,
she looked guilty.
A vase that he'd bought broke, and she looked guilty, and it's a young kid, and so he assumed that it was that, and he was like, "Oh, I would have passed a polygraph test."
But it was something else?
But it was Susan. And so he was like, "Oh, and I didn't, and for 35 years I was wrong." And then by testimony, 35 years after the fact, that was only a single woman telling you what happened. You believed that, and that's how you knew what happened 35 years ago.
Right.
Not to mention that polygraphs are suicides.
Well, no, it's just sort of at best, it demonstrates that 35 years after the fact, Susan, a single woman, told him, "No, this you may have thought that happened. This happened," and then he believed her. So for all the talk of, "Oh, it's been 35 years and I don't believe a single witness, etc., blah blah blah," apparently there are instances where you do. Congratulations on your inconsistency. And with that, I think it is time.
I think it is.
Oh, what an asshole!
What an ending. Such a. Dennis, you want to take us out?
I can take us out. Well, that was our adventure. We'll be back in 3 weeks on the 7th of November, once we've all been raised from the dead. Until then, spend your experience and count your loot.